It's time to go into business for yourself. Get ready for another episode of the Franchise Academy Podcast. Education, insight, and inspiration. Here's your host, small business and franchise expert, Tom Scarda.
Hello everyone, this is Tom Scarda, and I am honored to bring to you some information about franchising here during these crazy times. I am a little bit overwhelmed by the response. We have people from all over the country listening in. This is recorded, so you could listen to it again or share it with your friends and family if anyone else wants to know about franchising. So I'm excited about that. So people are just hopping on now. I appreciate that. We've got some great luminaries on the call. I have a good friend of mine, Harold Kastenbaum, who is a lawyer, an attorney, franchise guy for more than 40 years. He has forgotten more about franchising than I actually know. So thank you, Harold, for hopping on. Hopefully I got some good things to share here for you. So very excited again to talk and help people with just learning about franchising. And you could type questions into the chat box. I have my partner, sidekick, friend, and wife, Gina, helping me with all of that stuff. So I guess let's kick this off and get it going. So, hey, again, my name is Tom Scarda. I'm a franchise consultant. I match people with opportunities based on skills, personality, goals, kind of like the eHarmony of business. What's interesting is I used to be a subway conductor before I got into franchising. I was the guy opening and closing trains, the doors on the train, and really helping people move through the city. So I love being a cog in the wheel of moving 5 million people a day. That number is down to about 300,000 today. I just read this morning, which is pretty crazy and sad at the same time. One day an old timer said to me, "Hey kid, this is a great job because you'll always have a shirt on your back." He said, "It'll never be a silk shirt, but you'll always have a shirt." And that hit me like a bucket of cold water. I said, who is wearing the silk shirts? And I realized that it was business owners who were living the lifestyle I wanted to live. And not that there's anything wrong with being a transit worker or any other kind of job, but for me, I want to do something more creative. I realized after reading a lot of books and going to seminars that a franchise is a business with training wheels. That's what I needed. I had no education in business. I had no degree. I wanted to be a business owner, and I realized franchising was the way in for me. So back in 2000, I bought a franchise called Maui Wowie Smoothies. So this is just a quick picture of my family. That's my son, who's actually in franchising on the left, my wife in the middle, my daughter, who just had her first baby 6 months ago tomorrow. And we live on Long Island, just for your information. Born and raised in Brooklyn. By the way, because I'm from Brooklyn, there'll be a lot of F-bombs. No, not the traditional 4-letter F-bomb, but the 17-letter F-bomb. Forget about it. It's what you'll hear a lot from me. You'll also hear a lot of other F words, such as franchising and fun and financial freedom. So buckle in. This will be about 30 minutes or so, and I hope to get you some good data here. So I was a franchise owner for Maui Wowie Smoothies. I was in the Javits Center. That was my first location. I was in the Javits Center on 9/11, 2001, when we had that horrific catastrophe, and I was out of business for 3 months at that point. They actually had it locked down. My equipment and everything was locked in the Javits Center, which is now a hospital for the new pandemic, which is just absolutely insane to put my head around that. Had a great time. We were franchisees of the year in 2002. Top performers in the business among 200 franchisees. In 2005, we sold the whole kit and caboodle, and I essentially semi-retired at 41 years old. And money's subjective, so I didn't make millions of dollars, but I made enough to pay off everything that I owed, mortgages and all that stuff. And I got into a second franchise. My wife was getting ready to retire. She was a New York City police officer. She wanted to open up something called Super Suppers in 2006. And so we did. This is some clippings We got a lot of media, and this was a concept where you made meals, followed our recipes, took them home, uncooked, froze them, and on days when you're busy, instead of ordering in, pizza again or whatever, you can actually have a home-cooked meal made with your own hands. It was a brilliant concept. Started out fantastic. First month, second month. Slowly, the Great Recession climbed in. Within about 19 months, we were out of business and lost almost our entire life savings on that franchise. This article on the right here that says meals that mom could almost call their own was literally the front cover of the Sunday New York Times. And Kim Severinsen, who wrote the article, said, "We're changing the way America eats, the way McDonald's and Swanson did 50 years earlier." And I thought she was right. She was incorrect on that one. I wrote it all in something called Franchise Savvy. So you could read my story. If you'd like a free book, I'm going to give you a free book as a thank you for getting on the webinar and staying with me here for 30 minutes. I'll let you know how you could get that free copy. And it's a hard copy. I'm going to mail it to you in the snail mail. I'm not talking about a downloadable copy. So I'll give you a real live copy. So a few lessons I learned from the from the Super Suppers failure. It made me a franchise expert. It was great doing, making a ton of money and having great fun with Maui Wowie smoothies. Super Suppers taught me a lot of lessons. So one is, don't buy into a franchise that's a brand new industry. Make and take, as they called it, was brand new. No one's ever done it before. Don't get involved with a company that's a brand new franchise. So Super Suppers, as great as the people were there, and I hold nothing against them, I made the choice to buy the business. They tried to help. It didn't work out. But they were a culinary school. They weren't a franchise. So we had great recipes. We had great food, but we did not have super support, and we didn't really have the path towards longevity. In addition, you got to have enough money. The number one reason for failure in a franchise is not having enough money, or any business for that matter. And you have to understand the day-to-day operation. One thing that we learned in Super Suppers is that our customers needed to see us on the nights and weekends when they were off from work. That meant we were working nights and weekends and taking time away from our family instead of being with our family, which was really the goal. So that's something that you really need to think about, is what your day in the life is going to be like after you own this business. So I want to talk about the effects of COVID-19, the coronavirus, whatever they're calling it today. It's way different than the Great Recession. It's way different than 9/11. And actually in a lot of better ways for people that want to be in business. So there's loans available. In the Great Recession, you couldn't get any money. And it was funny, what I learned there is that we had to go into businesses that were low investment and were able to start up in like 30 days. So we have a stable of businesses that are like that today. But what's even better is that we could get you a loan pretty quickly through the SBA to get that thing up and running quickly. Also, real estate. I have a feeling real estate prices are going to drop. And so this will give us a great advantage to get a lot of different types of franchises into some great locations, some real estate locations. So staffing, if you talk to any franchises or franchisees that have been around since the Great Recession, really probably the last 8 years, their biggest complaint is staffing. You can't find enough good people. Now, unfortunately, because of what's going on with the pandemic, we're going to have a lot of people, a lot of great Americans that are going to be looking for jobs in all different industries. So that's to our advantage. Advertising is crazy inexpensive right now. So first of all, being in business right now is easier than it's ever been, just because of the internet and the way we're able to glean data from Facebook and LinkedIn and all these other platforms. But Google Click Ads has dropped about 50% right now today if you're trying to run ads for a business. So it's much less expensive. In addition, there's franchise incentives to be had. A lot of franchise companies are deferring back-end royalties and fees. Some people are halving their franchise fee. There's all different things that are going on, but it is really a good time to get into franchising. Also, something that's always been going on, but something that really struck me is the IFA, which is the International Franchise Association. Go to franchise.org for their website. They're fighting for us, and they're fighting for small business all over America. There's more than 733,000 franchise units in America, everything from little home-based franchises up to the big granddaddy, McDonald's that you know. In those 733,000 businesses, we're going to easily lose possibly 10 or 20% of them in the next couple of weeks if the government does not come with some aid, which they're doing, thank goodness. So the IFA is in there. I was on every day this week, I've been on a webinar with the IFA, hearing about what they're doing, how they're fighting for us. So that's another really good reason to be in franchising, is that you have this umbrella of lobbyists and all sorts of people to help with the success of not only your business, but the success of the industry as a whole. So really interesting things to think about if you are considering business right now during the great pandemic of 2020. I mean, I don't know, that's what somebody just called it yesterday. I don't know what they're calling it these days. So there's more than 4,000 franchises that span 90 different industries. But right now, what I learned back in the recession is you need businesses that are recession resilient. You need businesses that are Amazon resistant, something that I added to my vocabulary probably 5 years ago. But now I have a new addition to my vocabulary, and that's going to be pandemic resistant. So you could get into a business now that will haul through whatever the recession is going to look like. But I also have my thumb on a few businesses that you could start in the next 30 days that will work and help actually clean up the pandemic. So this is some fantastic opportunities. They're not sexy businesses. I want to get that straight right away. This is not, owning a bar and grill and having your friends come and hang out and have drinks. This is not, golfing and turning on the ninth hole and having some beers. This is down and dirty work that people need and not want, and they need it today. And this is really what has me kind of hopeful. And that's what I want to bring to you, is hope that there are alternatives for folks that want to get into a franchise right now. You could do it in the next few weeks and have cash flow in the next few weeks. So you could contact me and we can talk about that, and I'll give you all my contact information in a couple of minutes. So pandemic resistant is what to be thinking about right now, but also think about a year, 2 years, 5 years from now, what's going to be a needed service and not just a wanted kind of fly-by-night thing. So with all that said, there's 90 different industries you could be involved in. There's senior services, healthcare, children's services. These things are really recession resistant. But at the bottom, I wrote home and building maintenance, emergency service response. So these are pandemic resistant as well. But you also have to deal with that lifestyle, because you might get called at 4 a.m. that you need to report to a building that has some kind of fire damage or mold damage or virus damage, I guess. But keep that in mind. We can talk it through and see what's the best fit. And I'm going to give you some kind of investment levels too here in another 2 or 3 minutes. So why invest in a franchise? I'm not going to get into all the details now. That's not what this webinar is about. But it's a risk reduction strategy. Great franchise companies have blazed a trail. You just follow the blueprint. It's also accelerated learning curve. So you're diving in and building this business, and you have the help of the franchisor. So you're buying down your time to ramp up and your time to break even and make money in the business. You're creating an asset. A job is like renting an apartment. A business is like owning a home. So think about that for a minute. You know, you could have the greatest job in the world and it could pay a lot of money, all the health benefits and everything, but it could be gone tomorrow. You got nothing to show for it. In a business, you could build it and you're creating an asset that's going to pay you dividends and hopefully be a nest egg at the end. In addition, relative ease of sale in a franchise. Because you pay monthly royalties typically, you could show your books. They're real. There's no made-up numbers because you're writing royalty checks to the franchise company. And we'll talk about the positives and the negatives of royalties as well. So, great advantages in a franchise, proven system, ongoing training, just the fact that they're doing all the search engine optimization for you. You're going to have a microsite for your franchise business. They're going to help you with everything. Typically, you go to training at the franchise headquarters. It'll be at least a week, sometimes more, depending on the business model. And when you come out of there, you sound like you founded the business. You're going to know everything there is to know about that business. So there's so much, and again, I'm not going to dwell on it, but it's really the power of the system and the power of franchising, as I said, with the International Franchise Association behind you. The other thing is the franchise industry is regulated by the Federal Trade Commission. This is an important thing to understand. Every franchise in America is mandated to have a franchise disclosure document. They have to disclose any litigation that they've had in their history up to 10 years or anything perpetrated by them. Every expense. So to the dime, you'll know how much it is to open the franchise and how much it is to run that franchise on a month-to-month basis. It's all in black and white. There's no hidden costs. There's no hidden fees. So your fees are listed in there. You'll have earnings for some franchises. There's 23 different items in a franchise disclosure document. The 19th item is where they're permitted to put in average earnings. Not all franchises do it, and there's a lot of reasons why they don't, and there's a lot of reasons why some do, but only about 1/3 of franchises actually put in what they call an item 19 earnings disclosure for their franchise owners. But you get to see that in many of the companies. Most importantly, in any investment that I know of in the world, you can actually talk to the end user, the franchise owner in the field. I can't think of anything else where you could call somebody and say, I'm thinking about making this investment. Could you tell me if you made any money in it? So in franchising, we actually implore you, we beg you to call franchise owners in the system that you are dealing with. And I have a sheet of 39 questions I'll give you. I'll help you get to a real comfortability level to make those calls. It'll be really, really important for you to do that. And I hold your hand through the whole process. And don't get me wrong, there's challenges of a franchise. Just to be clear about this, I'm not here to promote franchising. I'm here to give you the unbiased good, bad, and ugly of franchising. So you're working within a system. You have somebody that's kind of dictating to you the good and the things not to do in your business model. You're partnering with the franchisor. So it's a partnership. They're helping you, but you have to pull your weight as well. A lot of people have false expectations. They think like, if I buy a franchise, I'm going to be successful. I'm going to make money. That is absolutely not true. You have to work. It's like if you're the kind of person that wants to join a gym and think you're going to join a gym and just become fit because you joined, don't buy a franchise because you actually have to work the franchise. You have to use the equipment. You have to show up. So just kind of a little levity there. But seriously, owning a franchise is the hardest thing you'll ever do. However, it's the most rewarding thing you'll ever do as well, as long as you get involved with the right franchise system, and that's what I help you do. Also, franchise fees and royalties. So a lot of people just poo-poo the idea of franchising because they don't want to pay a back-end royalty to the franchise. And if you talk to veteran franchise owners, they're in the business 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, 15 years. They'll tell you that, they hate paying royalties. You still I got to pay these guys, but they wouldn't be in the business that long if they didn't have that support system behind them and helping them to expand. The thing that you'll find in franchising, there is no barrier to entry for the most part, but there's a big barrier to scalability. So you really need to scale your business to be successful. But if you're a mom and pop and you didn't pay your franchise and you decide to do it on your own, you got nobody to ask any questions to. You're on your own. You're an island by yourself. But in the franchise community, your franchisees, your fellow franchisees are actually helping you grow your business. If you're in a pizza franchise and you run out of cheese on a Sunday, your fellow franchisee will help you and give you cheese so you don't close, because you're all building equity in the same business model. So it's a real symbiotic relationship. Everyone is helping each other, and that's the beauty of franchising, and that's what I personally loved about it most of all. I've been out of my smoothie franchise now for 15 years, but I still talk to a handful of the franchisees from back then. We have lifelong relationships. So financing. Right now, financing is great. As you know, the Fed has lowered interest rates. You could do a 401k rollover. I know your 401k is now a 201k. I get that. However, it's your money and you could use it tax-free and penalty-free. You could do a line of credit for in your home. If you have home equity, I believe that unlike the Great Recession, we're not going to lose a lot of our equity at the moment. I don't know. I'm not a financial analyst and I am not an economist. But I think a lot different than 10 years ago. I think our homes are holding value, and I think that you could probably get a home equity loan and get a really good rate on it. It's a great way to start a franchise. That's how I started my first one, which was a home equity loan. So you could do an SBA loan. There's express loans. We could get you a loan really quickly. You need about $15,000 down, and you could finance up to about $150,000. It's a good way to go. Not the best way because they make you jump through so many hoops. But you could do equipment leasing. Credit cards, I do not recommend that. If you're paying for a franchise on a credit card, you should not be opening a business. And there's franchisor financing. If you're getting involved with a franchisor that's 30 or 40 years old, they probably have a lot of liquidity and they'll do in-house financing. And of course, you need a 680 credit score or better. That's where you need to be with that. So one thing I want to help you understand, in my mind, I break down franchises into 4 quadrants. So real quickly, I'm going to give you the characteristics of each quadrant, and you could see really the investment level and what's required. And we'll do this here in like 4 minutes. So I usually take longer, but I want to get you to the meat here. So simple retail. If you're in a store, your investment will start at $150,000 and it could go as high as $500,000. Food is on the higher end. This includes the money to get your doors open and be ready for customers on day one, all the way through working capital to keep your doors open for a certain period of time. So depending on the franchise, it'll, $150,000, $200,000 on the low end if you're going into those kind of strip mall businesses. You could be in a regional mall or you could be right on Main Street as well. You got to think about your hours, really important, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Is that going to affect your family? Staffing, it's a simple setup. So you're going to have only, on average, 3 to 10 people working for you in a single unit operation. The ramp up will take about 6 months because it's all about location, location, location. So you have to find the real estate. A great franchise company is going to go through great pains to help you find the perfect spot. So they'll do territory mapping, they'll do demographic studies, traffic studies. So it'll take a while. Once you find a location, then you have to do interior construction. So from the time you sign your franchise agreement to the time you see your first customer, it could be 6 months. The next thing is complex retail. So this is larger footprint businesses that stand alone. So this is your McDonald's, Taco Bell, Panera Bread, Applebee's. It could be outside of food, Ace Hardware, Aaron's Rental Center. These are expensive footprints, not what I recommend for somebody that's leaving a job and starting a business and going to, feed his or her family with this business. not really the way to go. I won't spend a lot of time on this, but we could talk more about it offline if you want to chat. Service to consumer is something that I really, really love for people that are coming out of a job, especially in a crisis situation like right now. Your investment as low as $60,000 to get started, could go as high as $150,000, but I think $100,000 is a sweet spot. Your location is a home office or an executive office, could be kind of a warehouse with an office as well. Your hours are more family friendly. It could be 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. You could be having some Saturday hours. The kind of service will dictate what kind of hours that you'll have. You'll have minimum staff, 0 to 10 people. Caveat though, you could have as many as 4 dozen people over time if it's the kind of business where you're dispatching out people, like in a maid cleaning service. I have a good friend of mine that's listening in right now, Sharon Kupach from Eco Maids. Great concept for this thing, and they are cleaning people's homes to get rid of viruses. So this is, if you talk to Sharon, talk to me first. If you talk to Sharon, let her know you heard it here at the Franchise Academy. So you could be in a business like this in 45 days from today, even sooner if you want to move quickly. But you need to know that you will be presented with a franchise disclosure document, and you have to have that document in your hands for 7 to 14 days. So the quickest you could buy a franchise really is 2 weeks, but it takes really about 10 days to go through. I'm sorry, not 10 days. It takes about 4 weeks to go through the due diligence process, talking to franchise owners, being interviewed by the franchise company, making sure you're a good fit. Just because you have the money does not mean that you get a franchise. You want to be a good fit with the culture. And again, I help you with all of that. And I like to break out service to business. So this is a B2B quadrant where you're working with other business owners during the day. So it's very family friendly. Typically, for the most part, you're working 9 to 5. There's no nights, there's no weekends, there's no holidays. You're working with business owners during the day. But it has a lot of the same characteristics as a service to consumer, and that is that the investment is low. Your hours are really great. You ramp up very quickly. And these kind of service businesses have very little overhead. Sometimes they have very limited inventory. In some cases, they have no inventory at all. So these kind of businesses will start up quickly, ramp up quickly, get you to cash flow. This is the kind of stuff I'm thinking about right now in the pandemic of 2020. I think this is really, really good options. So think about these quadrants. And again, if you got on late to this webinar, this will be recorded so you can see this all later. But every franchise will fall into one of these 4 buckets here, one of these 4 quadrants. If you think about it, makes sense. Simple retail and complex retail, the customer comes to you. And the bottom 2 in service, you or your staff go to the customer. And all that means is that there's more marketing that has to be done because there's no store really for someone to happen upon. So you have to get involved more with the Chamber of Commerce and really, expand that business that way. So you got to really also consider the type of sales or customer acquisition in the concept. A lot of the franchises these days will really do the marketing for you. They have the search engine optimization, and really it's up to you to just talk to the customer. They're going to call you. It's going to be an inbound call. I call it a warm call. They need the service. Your job is just to book the appointment or maybe perhaps show them why they should be working with you and not, a competitor. So real quickly, a franchise investigation, if you worked with me or if you did this on your own, this is the process you go through. So if you worked with me, we would have a phone consultation. I help you figure out your skills, where you're going to fit best, and I write a model for you. With that model, I match you to franchise opportunities. I become a coach and an advisor at that point, and I help you through the whole due diligence process with a short list of franchise companies, and I help you decide on what is the best one for you. there's 4,000 franchises. There's only one that's going to be the perfect match. It's kind of like getting married. So I bring you through a dating process, and then I'm the best man on the altar. As you say, I do or I don't to every franchise company that we look at. My process is 100% free. No kidding. There a lot of people, you could look on my LinkedIn page where people have not bought a franchise, but they give me these recommendations because there's no pressure here. This is really just a learning experience, and that's why I call it the Franchise Academy. The due diligence process will take you 4 to 6 weeks. So you got time during this stay-at-home, pandemic, lockdown, whatever they want to call it. You have time to research. This is a great time to do it, in my opinion. So I want to thank you for being on this webinar. I'm trying to get this in for 30 minutes here. So if you want to chat, feel free to give me a call. My number's right there. Book a time on my calendar, getwithtom.com. Again, getwithtom.com. You can email me, tom@thefranchiseacademy.com. Everything you ever want to know about franchising, I'm here to help. I got great partners out there that will help you with financing, everything that you need, soup to nuts, attorneys. I got one-stop shopping, everything that you need. Oh, and by the way, free book. Just email me or call me, whatever you want to do. But just email me. Let me know you watched the webinar. You want a free copy of Franchise Savvy. I'll send it over to you. No strings attached. I want you to have the information. That is my gift to everyone, whatever you want to do. So again, my name is Tom Scarda. Thanks for tuning in for the webinar, and I hope to hear from you soon. God bless you. God bless your family. Be safe. Wash your hands. I mean, how many times are you going to hear this, right? Wash your hands. Don't touch your face. Stay home as much as possible. If you can, please. Thank you, guys. God bless you guys, and hope to hear from you soon. Bye-bye.
This has been another episode of the Franchise Academy Podcast. For more info, go to our website, thefranchiseacademypodcast.com. Remember to subscribe to Tom Scarda's YouTube channel for educational videos on franchising, education, insight, and inspiration.